Welcome to Breaking the Chain. I'm Jacob,
And I'm Cody.
and we have like a lot of news and no news at the same time this week. Like it's like a weird week because we're in between the pre-release and or like the world premiere and the pre-release. We're like right sandwiched in there. So all the stuff we talked about last week was all the exciting news. And now we're just like kind of recapping on a lot of stuff we missed over the last couple weekends, some general topics. Like I know you have a lot more to talk about, like the Nats, that
A
situation, the
lot about
Gem Pack
Nets.
2.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gem Pack 2, the Treasure Pack, new LL point system, which I think we went over briefly, but
Just a little further
there's
discussion on it.
a little further discussion. Uh, and then a little bit on like rotation in the game, which I think will be the most interesting topic here.
It's in the same vein of the LL point system, kind of a question or kind of a topic. But
Well, outside of my week in Flesh and Blood, the second most interesting.
Exactly. But speaking of, how was your week in Flesh and Blood?
So I say that as like a little bit of a joke. I went to an armory and it didn't end up firing. So me and the guy that was there, we sit down, we're just playing decks. We're having fun. But since it didn't fire, I'm like, can I play some Valda? And he said yes. So I did play one match with Bravo because I'm like trying to like do like something with Bravo. So we did one thing of Bravo. And I'm like, still trying to figure that out. But I'm like, okay, let me play some Valda. And we sit down and like, she is so much fun. It's just like gambling anytime I sit down with her.
Out of curiosity, what was your opponent playing? Were they drawing cards?
They were on Jarl, which like makes it a lot easier for me to be like, oh, we both draw cards. Oh, we both draw cards. And then like he looked at his hand of like
cards.
like 5 cards in hand. And, like sometimes he did like something extra with it. Like, oh, okay, maybe you could activate the gloves and give dominate, which you normally couldn't have done, or you got a Winter's Bite to make me pitch a card. But like outside of that, like it didn't feel really bad to make him draw cards. And like it was really insane in the beginning because I think it was 17 to 35, and I was at 35 because I threw a righteous cleansing for 20 dominate for free, and it was so cool. It was awesome. I loved it so much, and so I had a lot of fun doing that. But then he destroyed my chess piece, and my entire deck just stopped. My deck's just like, stop. And I'm like, a hammer for 4, block your attacks, hammer for 4. And it ended up getting down to like 1-1 with a lead of almost 20 life.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it's such a huge lead, and they destroy your chess piece, and you're like, well, my deck is just worse carding.
Pretty much. But like on top of that, I've been the new spoiler card for or the new expansion set card for Guardian. I put it in like a Talishar, or put it in a list. I went on Talishar, and I didn't even do any games. I went against the bot and just goldfish against the bot. And like, sure, it's not serious, but it's so much fun to just look at my hand and be like, what's the biggest like attack I can throw? Let's gamble, just draw cards like crazy. Create 12 seismic surge, throw this attack for like 24 or something. So like while I was waiting for you, I was sitting here for like the last half hour just on Talishar, just like Valda gambling, like
Casino Valda.
Yeah, pretty much. She's a lot of fun, and I haven't played it in a real match, but the expansion slot card seems really good.
So which one is that again?
It's the 3-cost blue block 3 aura with Go Again. And then it creates 3 seismic surge when you play it. And at the start of your turn, you can put 3 cards, or you can put as many cards as you have seismic surge on the bottom of your deck and then draw that many.
Oh, right, that one. Okay, yeah.
It's a really weird card, but it's a 3-pitch blue that blocks 3 that creates 3 seismic surge. So like Valda's like eaten with that card. So it was like, oh, turn 0, just create 3 seismic surge and guarantee I have a playable hand next turn. It's pretty cool.
That is in fact pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, and it turns on hero ability. And if like I draw it and I have an already blue hand, like oh, I'll just play that.
Mhm.
Or if I draw it and it's my only blue, oh, I'll just pitch it. Like it feels really good in my gold fishing. So again, not serious, but like when I'm just playing
Right.
like casinos, like trying to hit all the cherries or all the sevens across, like it feels so cool to be like, oh, I hit it. Okay, play this, do this. So
Right. So
I love Baldo.
Valda's pretty sick. Basically,
He's a
a
lot of
force to be
fun.
reckoned with once she's officially illegal at Nats, right? So
I
next
think
week.
so.
Yeah, I
I'm
think it's
like
next
pretty
week.
sure because it says like on the prize support, it says legal June 6th.
Okay,
So
yeah, that's what I remember it being too. Um,
yeah.
so that's pretty cool.
Anyways, how was your week in Flesh and Blood?
I didn't to attend any armories, unfortunately, but I have been doing a ton of prep for nationals, like an absolute
Mhm.
shit ton of prep for nationals. Um, I have basically just been flip flopping on the deck that I'm gonna play between like four different options this entire time.
Ooh.
Yeah. Uh, and nothing just feels great. Okay, my like I'll get into it later when it comes to like nationals in general, for the topic of the podcast. But
Mhm.
I just don't know what I want to play. That's really what it comes down to. There's just so many factors. Basically, I want to play Gravy, but Gravy's too expensive to really justify picking up all the cards for. And then Vincent seems like a decent option, but like at the same time, I don't know how to play it. So what? Why would I play that deck when I don't know how to play it? I'd just be an idiot. And then there's obviously like some other meta contenders like Florian and like Verdance and um, some of the Rangers, and then maybe even the other new heroes. Like any of the new heroes, not really feasible for me, right? It's just not going to be. Not only can you not like and I not like justify paying for the cards, but I can't even guarantee I'm going to get the cards. So I don't know if I don't want to prepare a hero and then literally not be able to have the cards in my hands by the time the event starts. So I just ruled those out primarily. So anyway, a lot of like back and forth of like, what do I even want to play? Because nothing that I've played, that I have played in the past, feels like a good option. So like, all the decks that I want to play are either the new decks or decks that I haven't played before, and so I've been basically flip flopping all over the place because of that.
Yeah. Well, if you want to come to the dark side, all things go wrong. I have a Jarl deck you could borrow. I have a Valda deck you could borrow.
Volda, you
Just
know,
gambling. Is it
that's true. She'll
serious?
have the new
Who
card.
knows?
Jarl
Yeah.
is actually like not that bad of an option, right? But I
Mhm.
think like a lot of people are predicting that new is going to be pretty prevalent, and so
Yeah.
I don't know how much Jarl is going to survive in that kind of a meta.
Oh no, you're over.
Yeah.
At least with my list, you're over if you bring Jarl into a new meta, which I don't think he's a good pick actually.
I don't think
But
he's bad. I
is
don't think he's
he
that bad.
the most fun pick? He's second most fun. Valda's
He
fun.
would be the fun
But
pick. I get that. But if I
yeah.
want to go for a fun pick, I'd pick Valda. I'd play Valda.
Mhm,
Why?
mhm.
I mean, that'd be the fun pick, right? Actually,
You
if
could
I
play
want,
casinos in the city of casinos.
that's true. You make a really good point there. Gotta gamble in the city of gambling, right? But yeah, so my Flesh and Blood has been mostly digital, online prep with my testing team and everything. But unfortunately, was doing that instead of going to the armory on Tuesday.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally fair. You were doing a lot more productive things than I was.
I don't know about
You can
that.
definitely
I was wasting my
definitely
time preparing a hero that I'm not going to play on Tuesday.
fair enough. I mean,
I ruled it out.
it
So that's
gives you
something.
experience. Like if you're playing like Gravy now, like you know some of the lines, you can beat it.
Yeah,
It's not like you're just like playing into a bot on Valda. Like
yeah.
it's better practice
I
than
did that with Kano, so that is something that I actually did this week. Was playing to the bot with Kato. But yeah, so very, very exciting week of Flesh and Blood for me, to sum that up. But with that, we can dive into, I guess, just in general, talking about nationals, which is next week. So not this upcoming weekend after the podcast releases, but the following week after that. And I'm personally flying out Tuesday for it. And so I'll be there a bit early to prepare and just like work from home while I'm in Vegas, just to, like make flights work and everything. Um, but yeah, coming up really soon. Starting tomorrow, like a week from tomorrow morning is when I'll start playing. So I have 1 week to prepare a CC deck and draft, basically. Um, so yeah,
I do
it'll
not
be fun.
envy you.
But the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to nationals is the card acquisition and distribution issues which have been plaguing the new set. Uh, Unfortunately, every store has had its allocation cut by up to like 90%. So some stores just aren't even getting to do pre-releases. Some stores like they thought they were ordering 40 cases of product and they're getting like 5 or 10 now. Things like that are happening, and we don't have any official word from LSS on whether or not that it's we're gonna have a problem with card acquisition at nationals itself, right? Like we have to assume that's the case because a lot of the card acquisition is probably going to come from these vendors that are reporting these things. MinMax has put out videos saying, "Hey, we order this much product and we only got this much, and this is a problem," right? And if MinMax is getting those kind of issues, then all the vendors are feeling the same thing, right? And long story short, it's becoming a bit of a failure in terms of a set release on Nationals weekend, because the new heroes just aren't really an option because of it, right? Like I said earlier, I wanted to play Gravy Bones because Gravy Bones is actually pretty decent, but I just can't justify it. Not only it's literally not even the monetary cost. Like I might literally not be able to get the cards in my hands no matter what price I want to pay, right? And that's just like not something I can realistically choose. I can't choose to spend all this time practicing the deck, show up and go to the vendors on the Thursday before the event, and then all of them say that we're sold out of cards that you need, right? Like that's just not something I can risk. So, and everybody else is feeling it too. I know when I listened to the Runaways podcast, they were saying that they were off of Gravy for the same reason. Like it's just not feasible to do that, and so it's unfortunate that these distribution issues have been happening.
Right. It's like, and I think you were mentioning before the podcast too, like originally you thought it was a really cool idea, and I think it would have gone over a lot better if like the allocation and the distribution wasn't as bad, because especially with like stores being able to sell like a week early now whenever they do the pre-release or sell at the pre-release, it would have helped out a lot more. But I think with like the it being the week or the day of the release on top of all these other stacking problems, it's just like it's just dominoes that all tipped over to cause a huge problem.
Yeah, like you said, because I want to say it was maybe 5 or 6 episodes ago, back when like the early days of knowing that the set release was going to be on Nationals release, and we talked about it on here. I was like, this is awesome. This is really cool for the game. It'll be good for spectators. It'll be fun for competitors and everything. And that was based on the assumption that we were going to have all the products we wanted available at Nationals, right? Like my assumption was that they were just going to have like you could buy however much product you wanted. The vendors were going to have however much product they wanted, and it would just not be a problem to get cards. Sure, it might be expensive, like you might pay a premium for it because it's release weekend, but you wouldn't ever have to worry about them just not having the cards, right, or not getting product yourself. But without that guarantee, then yeah, it is not a good thing after all to have this be happening, which is kind of sad because I do think it's a really fun concept, right? It was really fun to work with my testing team and really try to as quickly as possible figure out, hey, what's strong, what isn't strong, what's working into which heroes, like what do we think people are going to be bringing to the event, all that kind of stuff, and just like the process behind preparing for the event is fun and it is interesting, but the fact that some of these options just aren't really available to us because of the distribution issues makes it less so. But I do think the concept's cool. It's just the execution of it ended up under delivering.
Right, and I think if it didn't have and I can't say this is like an LSS problem too with like all the distribution. Like if that was solved, I think there'd still be some like naysayers, and there'd still be some people that are like, I don't know about having it so early, which is a fair criticism. But it's something where it's like I think it would have gone over fine. The coverage would be fun. But like I'm interested to see like on coverage when it has the hero breakdown to see how many of the new heroes are
Yeah, same.
actually in nationals. Like,
Really, really cool to see.
oh, because I'm sure there's going to be a few people that still force it.
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
it's gonna. I'm
uh,
like interested to see if it's like, oh, like 5% of heroes are new heroes.
yeah, people will definitely be playing it, right? Because
Mhm.
I know that there's been events that happen very soon after a set releases. Like I know Yuki's been pretty successful with playing some of these new heroes, like KO Raptor, the KO army that came out, or maybe it was just heavy hitters. Either way, I know Yuki did really well with
So
KO.
long ago.
Yeah, and then also with Syndra, like the pretty
Mhm.
very soon after Hunter came out, there was a lot of success with Syndra, right? Um, and so I have a good feeling that there will be at least one of the new heroes that is represented kind of highly, but not nearly as high as it would have been had the card acquisition
Right.
not been a problem. But I do think that there will be new heroes and they will be prevalent, and we'll see them on stream, which will be really cool.
Yeah. No, it's something that's succeeded before. Like they've had big events like callings on the night or day of release, and it's been like a situation like, oh, you have all these new heroes, you can show them off. Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't, but it's always been like super cool and successful. It's just I think it's more stressful because one, you can't do that, and two, it's nationals. So like
Yeah.
you're adding an extra layer to like what is like a okay, this is already what it would be a problem, but like sure, whatever. It's the first week, who cares that much? And then you're like taking what's like, oh, this is like a minor problem. Sure, whatever. We can all wait a week. We'll just pay the old meta for a week. Two, now you have nationals on top of it, and you do still have to test if someone does get those cards and have to get them, and you can't do,
Yeah.
And I think that's like the extra slice of the cake that's making it topple.
Yeah. And actually, I'm now remembering, there was something else I heard on a different podcast. I think it was the Runaways, where they were also talking about the issues here regarding the acquisition and nationals, and how it it discourages in person draft practice too, because we don't have the packs in our hands. Like it's just not it's not even possible to have packs in my hand right now. So it's just not possible for me to actually practice draft unless I'm drafting online. And so that was something else that I thought was really interesting regarding the timing of nationals and the release. Is that drafting practice just can't really happen in person, realistically.
It's kind of interesting as it does feel like with especially this being on nationals that they've kind of just accepted that Talishar is like a platform that exists, which like I know in the past it's like it's been there, but LSS is like been very neutral on it. Like, yeah, it exists, but who cares? It feels like at this, like with the announcement of this event, even back before we knew the allocation problems, it was them being like, yep, Talishar exists. Like, it's a good platform. Like, go use it to practice. Like, how else do you want to win the event?
Yeah. And it's interesting because they, like, not to get off the rails a little bit, but they took down one of the drafting sites forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a way to draft online despite that. So there's workarounds anyway. So maybe they just kind of gave up on it. They decided that it wasn't something worth fighting. But yeah, it is interesting to note that fact about having a set released so close to a big event just requires online drafting in order to get the right practice for it. But yeah, with that, I want to talk a little bit about after that the new hero viability. I think that all the new heroes actually have something for them. Although it's kind of funny, Marlin was the one that I thought would be the most viable before the cards were released, and now I feel like she's actually potentially the worst of the three.
Ooh, interesting, because I swear everyone I've talked to, like I didn't have a strong opinion on Marlin. I've never actually played against Marlin on Talishar or whatever, but I like heard like, oh man, you're gonna need a 3 of a kind band to make sure Marlin doesn't just destroy the format. Marlin's gonna be insane. We haven't even seen all the cards spoiled, and she's already a good hero. And then we get all the cards spoiled, and everyone's like, she's mediocre.
Yeah,
it's like it was really interesting, like because I feel like I was a little on the outside of this, like, ooh, Marlin might be a problem from what I hear, and then all of a sudden, like the spoilers come out, and everyone's like, she's not a problem anymore. Like that was
Turns
really fast.
turns out the main problem with Three of a Kind wasn't New Horizon, it was Voltaire.
Mm. Yeah, I
So
mean,
the fact that the Marlin, in order to take advantage of New Horizon, just has to run these Gogan arrows that don't have on hits and are
mm,
generally worse statted because of it, just makes her not quite as good. Like you can use it, don't get me wrong. You can still do the whole block 6 for free
mm.
and then play Three of a Kind and throw 2 arrows out. But yeah, it just doesn't exactly work the same as Lexi used it. And then the
Yeah, and
harpoon build
like
is like, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and Lexi, the bow gives go again too. So like on
Right.
top of
Yeah.
the I can load at instant speed with the arrows. I can also give all these crazy on hits go again. That
Mhm.
was fun for the first like 2 months, and then the other
Yeah.
like 6 months, I remember being like, "Why has nothing happened? I'm getting or like not red and ledger. That's a bad arrow. Heat seeker thrown at me like 3 times a turn. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then the harpoon build is just like it's just okay. I don't know. Like it's just not doing enough. Like you're doing this like 3 card 10 that sometimes disrupts, but sometimes your opponent just doesn't have the card that it's hitting, and so they don't care about it. And even if they do, it's like okay, you took a card. That's cool. I don't know. It's just fine. Like, it's not bad. It's just fine. And then
right.
you like have this like weird struggle of like you have to run so many blues in that version of the deck, that you often can't really do more than just send a harpoon for 10, and that's if you find the harpoon. Sometimes you just don't have a harpoon, so yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. I don't know. Someone's gonna cook up something, I bet, and we'll have a Marlin list that's actually working pretty well at nationals. But so far, it just hasn't felt like great.
Sounds very Guardian to me. Yeah,
Yes,
40 blues
yes.
in a deck. You draw an all blue hand, and you're like, oh, this is really bad.
Well, it's actually not
Huh.
that bad because a lot of the blue harpoons a lot of the blues are harpoons. Actually, there's the suite of 9
Oh, right.
blue harpoons, so it's not the worst. But you're still just doing like because I think those
Right.
ones
And I
are coming
mean,
for 4, so it's 8 overpower for those ones.
right.
Um,
Which, I mean, is better than Guardian, but
yeah, but it's like 3 card
oh,
8
all
versus 2 card 6.
blues.
Like,
Yeah.
eh.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar, but it definitely, the one of 2 rangers that have made me like somewhat interested in Ranger is Harpoon Marlin, which because like it looks like a Guardian,
Mhm.
and Riptide very trap focused because it kind of looks like a Guardian but small.
Yeah, yeah. Riptide's interesting too because like he definitely got most of the new stuff compared to Azalea, um,
Mm.
but I just feel like it's not really the meta for him. Like when it's going to be a lot of new. Well, I guess you're pretty good into new. When it's going to be a lot of Florian and um, like I think a little bit more defensive fatigue. Like you don't really want to be playing Riptide. That's not really where he excels at. He excels in like the aggro metas. Um, and so I don't know. We'll see. That's another problem I'm struggling with is I just don't know what the meta is going to be. I've heard that Florian's going to be number one, New's going to be number one, Azalea's going to be number one, like Syndra's going to be number one. I've heard like Kano's still just going to be unstoppable.
Syndra's gonna be number one.
Yeah,
That's a wild take.
I've heard like a lot of different wild takes, and people just don't know because like these decks can be number one depending on what the rest of the meta is, right? Like if there's like a lot of gravy bones and a lot of like I think new is also not favored for like the red line Syndra version of Syndra.
Hmm.
It just depends on like what's popular, right? Because Syndra can even push through the fatigue decks with a lot of her invasive damage, right?
Right. It's it is super cool though, like not being in the event, like it is cool to like have such a like unsolved meta with so many like
Yeah.
different and random things. And it's like it's nice to feel like I can bring any deck and still have a chance, unlike like a few of the past metas where it's like, well, if I'm not playing this hero, there's not a great chance. So for at least a week or two, it's gonna be cool to like, I'm gonna bring this random hero and have like some sort of chance before meta like is figured out.
Yeah, yeah, that is one thing too. Is like when the meta is so wide, like you don't have to bring a certain hero to like counter the meta, right? Because if you're gonna run into everything, if your deck is just generally strong, then you're in a good spot, right? And that's kind of the approach that I think I'm going to take with it. Is just bring a strong deck. Don't really worry too much about what the meta is going to be because who knows what it's going to be. Just go from there. But yeah, that's for Marlin. And then Puffin's really interesting. She has some really cool things going for her actually. And I think I like the design of her as a whole. The different angle when it comes to not really boosting and instead getting your action points via these items you're creating is a really cool angle that they took with her. I don't know how good it is in practice. I have a feeling that someone's going to have a busted Puffin deck, and I wouldn't be surprised if Puffin makes top 8 actually at Nats. I think that she's really close to being there, and it just takes a very skilled pilot and deck builder in order to do that. And Palantir is kind of fucked up. I don't know if you played against that card yet.
Oh no, but like when I got it to like explain to me like, oh, block with an equipment and destroy it, it's like, oh, I don't like that at all. That looks awful. But she does look like really cool as a mech to me, just because it isn't like the boost centric. It is a very like unique mech in her own way. Even if she goes like all mech cards, it feels like she can still play completely different than the other mechs. She could play like without the pirate cards, but very like item crank centric with cogs. And so again, I have no idea on how like any of these decks are built to be good, but like from the like back perspective as someone that's just been playing Casino Valda for the last like week and a half, it's like it's cool to see that kind of deck building, and it's cool to see like, oh, you could go like a pirate Puffin and like just see. And I know like something I've been really excited for a long time is the idea of classes having so many different archetypes, where it's like you could have like Aura Guardian where you're playing all the draw cards that we've had since set 1, and you're playing like, oh, you could play a Fatigue Guardian, or you could play like an aggro guardian like Victor, and it's like going into other classes like you have like an item like I forget what it is, like tank dash.
Slab
dash. Yeah, you can have a slab dash, or you can have a boost aggro dash, or you could have tree frog dash. There's like it's cool to see like classes finally go from like this is how you play this class to being like, oh, here's like a bunch of ways to play this class. There's might be the best way, but that doesn't mean you have to play it that way.
Right.
Because this way's still good. Like it's cool to see the game expanding out that way, where it's like, oh, you could play assassin, you could play mark assassin, you could play dagger assassin, you can go all those ways. So it's or like warrior, when you could go two-handed warrior, you could go one-handed, or like two-handed or two one-handed swords. Like it's cool to see classes like diversifying in like you can play it so many different ways. You don't have to play exactly the meta to still have a relevant deck, and that's why it's like it feels like we're getting closer to that, and that's cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's benefits and downsides to that. It is really cool to have different angles and you're not pigeonholed into a certain archetype. But at the same time, when it comes to sitting across from a hero at a competitive event, and you're like, this could be slab dash or full boost dash, and I have to hedge for it, I don't like that part of it. and that's like part of it was also CYB. What is this could be a CYB deck or not? Thankfully, that's not a question anymore, but that used to be a question too.
And I think it's a lot cooler when it's like within its own like corner of the archetypes. CYB was like less cool because it's like everyone could be a CYB deck.
Right.
That's like generics that could be so defining or kind of boring in the game, because like we talked about last week, neither of us really thought CYB was a problem. There was ways to play around it, and like Guardian, I won against it most of the time, and I wasn't even a CYB deck. But it was okay. Well, is this a CYB new? Is this a CYB Enigma? Is this a CYB Bravo? Is this a CYB Dash? Is this a CYB Florian? Like, you can name any hero, and like you can fit it in. It somehow works.
People try to fit CYB into anything too, like anything.
CYB Syndra.
CYB Astilio.
I don't know if Syndra would have worked. I think I saw at one point like a CYB Astilio like floating around or something. Because you could discard it off as a build.
Yeah,
because you could discard it off the ability, and like you're just like kind of slowly waiting until you draw the combo and heal your way up. So I was like, it makes some sense, but yeah. But yeah, anyways, that was kind of like the boring part of CYB. If it was Earth, then it would have been much more fine in my book because it's like, oh, I have 3 heroes to worry about being CYB instead of like the 40 that are in the game now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, long story short, Puffin's pretty cool. Palantir's messed up.
Sorry.
No, you're
Long
good. You're
rant
good.
aside.
No, you're good. That's basically all I had to say about Puffin anyway. And then Gravy Bones. Gravy Bones has surprised me. I gotta say. I was the biggest like downer about Gravy Bones. I was like, they're not gonna make a good illusionist. They're not gonna. It's not gonna be good on a release. I was wrong. Gravy's actually pretty good. I don't think he's like busted necessarily or anything. He's definitely got problems that maybe people will just fix over time, and that it's not necessarily that he's got problems right now, but he just needs refinement. But the deck's pretty good. I understand why they didn't give him a weapon now. it makes a lot of sense. Then kind of like I said before, like I would play Gravy if there wasn't card acquisition issues. I think that's like the only reason that I don't want to play Gravy actually, because it feels like Dromai to me. It's just
I
like
was
home.
just about to ask.
It's just like
I was
Dromai,
gonna
and
say,
I miss it, and I
does
want
it
it.
feel
I want
like
it back.
Dromai?
Yeah, it truly does too. Like it's not obviously it's not the same, but it feels very similar to Dromai
Right.
in terms of how it plays.
Which I think a lot of people have been waiting for a very long time.
Yep.
Another thing I want to ask: how does he deal? Like, I don't know. Like, I was thinking, like, how does he deal with like fatigue? Is he like good against it because you can like play towards a late game, or is he because like he eats his deck so fast? Is he bad, or is it just kind of neutral based on skill?
It seems kind of neutral.
Okay.
You have ways that you can really set up for it. Like there's the new action point amulet that like you can kind of push through fatigue that way, right? By like setting up a big board or multiple attacks. If you're against like action point gated heroes, then Limpet is pretty cool against fatigue. Like you're just like, hey, do you want to spend an entire turn dealing with this? No, well then I get to extend my turns now even further. And sometimes you just like double ally and pass, and your opponent's just like, oh, what do I do now? And so I don't know. Like that's definitely like one of the big challenges that I think a lot of people will have playing Gravy at Nationals is when people just full fatigue them. Some people are just not going to be prepared for it. But I do think that he has outs. I think he has ways to play out of fatigue and to beat it. I think it is just not easy.
Okay, that is totally fair. I was hoping it was something where it sounds like it's a skill matchup. Because I was worried, like, because I feel like that's going to be like kind of Guardian's route to take him on.
Yeah.
And I was like worried it was going to be like a situation like Old Prism where, oh, I just spawn all this stuff. All this stuff does all this, and you can't deal with it fast enough, so you just automatically lose. Where if it's like I have some tech, you have some tech, and it's like we respond, and it is like the interact, like even though it's fatigue, like it is still the interactive of like I have to choose what ally to hit, and you have to choose exactly what ally to play and when, or if it's a double ally turn, or if it's something where you're just throwing it. Like if it's still the idea of like this skill between the two, I think it sounds super cool, and I loved the Dromai Guardian matchups personally.
Yeah.
So it's like I was hoping that too. Yeah. So that's why I was personally hoping like please be like a fun like ally deck for Guardians to play up against. Like because I miss the like Dromai Guardian. Like that was probably one of my favorite matches in all of Flesh and Blood because it was just so like thought provoking in a lot of areas because it's like, man, like I could rush down. They're at 5 health. But if they have all 3 blocks and then have like a Rake the Embers, I just automatically lose. Like stuff like that. And it's like you have to look through the graveyard, like, oh, are all the burn them all's gone? No, they are. That means I have an opening here. Like
it's very much like that too. So you're getting exactly what you're asking for, yeah.
Thank goodness. I also want to try Gravy Bones because like he looks super cool.
He is super cool. He's a lot of fun to play. There's a gambling aspect to it too, because you're like constantly checking the top of your deck. It has Dio aspects, which I love. As you look at the top of your deck all the time, and then sometimes you like just randomly discard the top of your deck, and you're just like, I hope I hit. And sometimes you hit, and you're like, we're good. Kind of like Azalea like random Azalea activation.
Oh yeah,
Kind
just
of thing.
blind azalea off
Yeah,
the
blind
top.
Azalea.
Like,
That's what I was
do
looking
I
for.
get it? Do I hit it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Exactly.
And
So it's a lot of fun.
I
It's a lot of fun. And
I
it's some.
also want to see, like, I'm definitely on the Valda train right now of fun, but like I want to see how Valda does into the Pirate Heroes because they do a lot of like drawing. Like, oh, I draw this, and it's like, ooh, seismic search. Ooh, seismic search.
Yep.
Ooh, seismic search. A spinal for free? Okay.
Yeah. Gravy will give you a lot of seismic surges. That's for sure. But yeah, he's really cool. I think that he might be my main post Nats too. Like
Okay.
he's really cool. I want to keep playing him. I don't know how I'm gonna get the cards, but I do want to play
I'm
him.
yeah, I'm hoping that it is just like things are really delayed, and that's the
Yeah.
big problem. So like after Nats, like 1, 2, even 3 weeks out, all the products here, and no one's really having a big serious problem of like I can't play anything. I'm really hoping it's just everyone's like all the stores are like allocations are cut for this event, and
Yeah.
sure we're gonna get some in the future, which I
I
don't know the details. I can't say anything on that, but
I heard some rumor about there being like 4 shipping waves now instead of the original one, and that it's basically spaced out across like months or something.
okay.
So again, it's a rumor I heard, but that's the current thought is that we're gonna get all the product. It's just gonna take a while to get it, but
Yeah.
that's what it is. Um, but yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to national stuff. I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I will be playing probably the calling on Saturday. We'll see. It's a limited calling, so I might be a little bit better prepared for that one. Because drafts is a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying the draft set. Um,
I
I'll like.
hear it's an amazing draft set.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a very very good draft set. And like I've said before, when it comes to draft, LSS is just getting better and better at making these draft sets. Like
Mhm.
they just keep improving. There has been very little like down dips on these like the draft quality of these sets as we keep going. So
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I was gonna say I'm interested to see at what level they get at because from what I hear and what it sounds like from LSS is this is like the peak. Like this is the best it gets. Because like
Good.
I don't know if you heard the dev talk and they're like, oh man, I miss doing this. Like sometimes near the end of testing, you get so like tired and bored of the draft set, doing it over and over and over again. And they're like, but like I could always do a high seas draft, and so it's like,
Yeah, I think it's that type of draft set. I think it's one of those ones that
yeah,
you'll like look back on and you'll be like, I just want to play it again. Like it's fun.
mm,
There's a lot of things that like make it that way. There's like the randomness of drawing with the tokens. There's the treasure island is so well designed. It's such a good macro for limited. It's amazing. I love it. And there's so many archetypes you can build every hero. Scurv is really cool too. Like there's just so many cool things going on with this draft set. I could talk about it all day.
yeah.
But I actually haven't played enough of it yet. I've been putting off the draft testing, trying to figure out my CC deck. So I haven't played it enough. But in the few games I've played and watched, it's really really fun. I think it's gonna be. I think it's definitely the best draft set so far.
Right. And so I'm just so excited and interested to see, like, after this set, it definitely sounds like it's gonna like level out for a little bit, but I'm hoping it like levels out at that high that we have
Maybe it
like
doesn't.
Rosetta, Mist Veil.
Maybe it's
So
just
it's like
better. You never know. Like
that would be even better. That would be sick.
I wouldn't be
But
surprised. I
yeah,
think it only
it
goes up
is.
from here.
Yeah, it is cool because it does feel like they're just getting better at designing the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
not
they're
that it
just
was
getting better at
ever bad, but it's like every set you like see stuff come out and it's like this is so intuitive, this is so
Mhm.
cool, this is really different. And I think I was listening to like the Runaways and they're talking about how like yellow cards, like there's a lot less yellow cards, but the yellow cards really matter in the last few draft sets where
Yeah.
yellow cards like mean something and there's a reason to run them. And like this set has a lot of yellows, but all the yellows are for the most part unique and like powerful in their own way, and so much is built off the discard of a yellow to create a gold or do other things with yellow that like it makes yellows like the power cards in a weird way. It's like it's really cool, and it feels like they're definitely like stepping up the game design every single set. So it's
Yeah,
I like
100%.
it's so cool. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. That's actually something that I've noticed, but I haven't like verbalized. Is that yeah, they're making the yellows matter a lot more now. Like whether or
Mm.
not it's just that their power level is strong enough to make them actually decent inclusions in limited, or that they're actually giving explicit reasons to run yellows. Like in this game, where it's discarding yellows sometimes gives you things for different reasons, right? Like you have explicit reasons to be running yellows over blues in some cases,
Mhm.
and so like they took the feedback about yellows just being like these little poopy things that you didn't want to have, and they just every time you got the last 5 picks of a pack, it was just yellows that nobody wanted. They've really taken that to heart and like have come to and fixed that issue, and it's just really nice to see. Um, but yeah, with do you have anything else to talk about when it comes to Nats? I think I'm tapped out on that. I actually something I will say is that we'll have to figure out what the episode will be for next week or how we'll want to do that because I will be out of town. I'll be at Nationals. I don't know if maybe we'll have another guest appearance potentially.
Perhaps I'll see who I can invite. I'm sure a lot of people are going to nationals, so me being at home and with my little dinky place, like
Nah,
trying to
don't put
find
it that
someone.
way. there's
I'll
like
see what I can do.
there's a chance that I just like scrub out and I can just like run home and then record an episode with you.
I wouldn't say you have to record, but
I mean, I can keep you posted there, depending on what happens. We'll see. We'll see.
just like live there, like you're walking around while everything's going on. You're like in between events. I'm interviewing you at nationals.
That would actually be kind of cool. We'll talk
Hmm.
about that after. We'll talk about
Okay,
that after.
okay.
That's actually a fun concept. I like that. Um, but yeah, and do you have anything else to talk about with Nats, or should we move on to some of the new packs?
I'm all done. I don't really have much Nat stuff.
Okay, I didn't know if you had any like hype things or whatever.
I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, it'll be a fun stream to watch for sure. But yeah, so we have Gem Pack 2 was announced, and we got all the cards for them. Uh, the most notable ones being first the Cold Foil Hero, which is Riptide. Pretty
Super
cool.
sick. I love it.
Yeah,
I think it was expected though. I think
you think
9
so?
out of 10. I think so because like Riptide was the like pirate hero before
Mm,
pirates came out. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's the pirate. Oh, he uses trench, which is the pirate chest piece." Like da 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 da.
I guess it
So
makes sense. I didn't really think about the Azuri Cold Foil being because there was an assassin set. Um, I didn't think of it that way, but I guess it makes sense in that way. Plus, like
yeah,
now, it'll only ever be heroes that haven't had a Marvel yet, right? So
right,
it kind of makes sense in that regard as well.
right, and it's from the same set as Azuri too. So I like
Mhm.
I I guess maybe it was like something I thought was obvious, and a few people I talked to thought was obvious, but it's like it just looked like okay, this is gonna be Riptide as the Marvel, and
Yeah,
like I
makes
can't
sense.
think of anyone else that would like made sense in this set because you already have Azalea as a Marvel because like
Right.
we knew Ranger was coming, and even when Mech was spoiled, none of the other mechs fit with this set at all. Then you have like especially with like I mean immediately we could tell it was not a boost mech. Then you go to Necromancer, and we don't have any past Necromancers.
Yeah.
So I think it was like the situation of like, well, it's got to be like that's why I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a Riptide. I think
Okay.
there was one other guess I had in my head, but like now that it's Riptide, it's like whoosh, gone.
Yeah.
But
I saw like I saw like a leak of a Dash IO Marvel, but it must have been fake or something. But I saw it a while back.
oh
I
yeah,
guess it's just not true. So that was not my prediction, but it didn't end up happening. Oh well. Um, and then we have 7 cold foils in the gem pack. 6 of which are weapons from the new set, or the compass, and the last one being, I think it might only be red boom grenade, but at least red boom grenade as a cold foil, which is sick. I want those red boom grenades so badly for my Dio deck. I love the cold foils. I have the cold foil null time zones for my deck, and they look sick.
Mm,
I just like cold foil cards in the main deck. Like on equipment, I don't
mm.
know why. On equipment, it's just like fine, but in the main deck, it looks so much better. It looks so cool to have it holding in my hand when I'm about to like style my opponent, and there's a cold foil card there. There's just something about that. It just really feels nice.
I love the idea of like drawing your hand and like while he's like, I'm gonna play this, you're like, ooh.
Yep, exactly.
Sorry, what are you playing?
Yeah, distracted by the shininess.
Right.
Um,
We're just like ravens in human form.
exactly. Always have been. And then the next really interesting card is Hunter's Clave is in here. They reprinted Hunter's Clave. So Hunter's Clave was interesting because it was in the expansion slot of Hunted, and we didn't have a lot of them printed, and that's why it's been so pricey. And I guess this is a way to alleviate that. We don't know how rare they're going to be in this pack, but presumably it'll drive down the price and introduce more into the circulation. So it's
Right.
interesting to see they put that reprint in there.
I think it's cool to see it in the pack because it is something that I think they didn't expect to be so popular. And I honestly think that when they printed that, they're like, oh, like only the Chaos ones are going to run this. They didn't think like Azuri or New are even going to try. So when that happened,
Right.
it like really drove up the price. And that's where they're like, okay. And this was, I think, also the debate of a lot. Like, I know we mentioned it, but a lot of people talking about like, wow, this is crazy expensive for this card here specifically. So I think it definitely is something where they're like, okay, I think this is a no-brainer reprint. Like everyone wants it. So I think this was. It makes sense to me.
I'm sticking with my theory that they just thought that people were going to run one Hunter's Clave and one Mark of the Huntsman, and just have one and one of those. But that's just my theory.
I mean that could definitely be it. But I think the reason they reprinted it was because it got so expensive and they didn't expect it to get so expensive.
There was a lot of backlash about it too, right? There's a lot of people saying like, why does my weapon cost $70, right, each?
It is still $70.
Is it still? Did you look it up?
Yeah, I was looking it up while we were talking because I was like,
I wasn't
what
sure.
Is it at? Yeah, that was a good call, but like it's 73 for the cheapest.
Dang, yeah. So that's expensive for a weapon. That's really expensive for a weapon.
I don't know why
it's weapon so far. I think.
Right, it's gotta be.
I don't think there's any weapons that haven't. What's the last majestic weapon that a deck has run? That's like been expensive besides other daggers, I guess.
Is the prism weapon expensive?
It's not expensive, but it isn't a majestic weapon. I think like maybe Hanabi Blaster is the only other one I can think of, but that's still not even that expensive.
I was gonna say that's not gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
There's
so
no way.
It's in a unique spot of being one of the only expensive weapons.
Right.
And a lot of decks need two of them. So it's not only that, like, it's $140 for your daggers. And some decks probably might even want 3 for Concealed Blade. Like that's crazy amount of money to spend on daggers. But
a lot of other cards in the deck have like gone down. Like I'm looking at it, like Under the Trapdoor, $1, Mask of Deceit, $14. Savor Bloodshed's expensive, but like that's like the chase of both classes, so whatever.
Right.
Pain in the Backside's $13, which is kind of, or $14, it's kind of expensive. But then Kiss of Death, like $6. Tarantula Toxin, $7. Take Up the Mantle, $4.
Yeah, and then like, that adds up pretty quickly, right? You need 3 of each of those cards.
That's true, but I think like especially when the set came out, like all of them were like $20 or something crazy like that. So a lot of it's dropped, and I think that's kind of why, like in my head, I'm like, oh, Hunter's Clave is probably back down to like $40, if not $30. But I feel like the price is holding just because it was expensive, so people think it should be expensive. So I'm hoping the introduction of this like drops it. We'll see.
It just depends on how the rarity of it, really. Like if it's in the same rarity as the cold foil weapons, maybe not. Maybe just.
Well, it looks like there's only 1 per box because it says 1, so it's just as rare as Riptide.
Is that how that works?
I'm pretty sure because it's showing you have 27 of the Morlefay, Bolton Shots, Gold Wing, Turbines, and Nimblism. Sorry, small spoilers.
I think that's
go a little more detail into that.
That's just 27 different of those like types of cards. Yeah. So there's
you might be correct.
There's just 27 different rainbow foil or extended art cards, I should say, because they come in rainbow foil or non-foil.
Oh, here,
right?
I can get a full card list.
Yeah, there's a full card list there too. So I think that's all it's saying is that
I didn't do my research. I'm
there's
sorry.
27 of those. And I did want to talk
Some of these
about
cards are
that a
so
little bit.
pretty.
Some of them are, yeah. I love the gem packs that they do these extended art cards for it. Which, like you mentioned, Red Bolton Shot is one of those cards. That's sick. That is a really sick card
So
to have
cool.
an extended art. Very classic card. And you have like, I guess they're like EA versions of the allies. There's Chum, Moray, and Whaler. So it's like a middle point between the
Humperdinck is in there too.
yeah, Whaler, Humperdink, yeah. It's like
Oh
a
wait,
middle-
you said Whaler. Sorry, my brain's always thinking Humperdinck, not Whaler.
yeah. But it's like a weird middle point. It's almost like, you remember the box topper chi you could get with Mistveil, where it was like the rainbow foil extended art chi, but like I don't know anybody that really wanted those. Like you either ran the regular one or you just got the Marvel one.
I was just about to say, I think the thing about it was there was a Marvel one, so it's like the in between wasn't like you wanted to bling out your deck, you're gonna go all the way.
Right.
No one's gonna like half bling out their deck.
Exactly.
Like
But that's what I'm saying
I think
here.
that's
what I'm saying here with these ones, though, right? Like you have these allies that are half extended arts. If you want them, we're gonna go for them, right?
I mean that's fair. I think it's gonna. I don't know. I feel like the allies are gonna be a little. We'll see. It might be very similar.
Yeah, I will say, Gravy Bones being like that, this blingable is dangerous. That is dangerous. Do you see how many of these EA cards that he's gonna run? Like, I'm gonna need playsets of if I build this deck. My wallet is in shambles right now.
It's a good thing I play Guardian. I don't have to worry about blinging out anything. They hate blinging Guardian out. So. Woo!
Hey, you say that now, but Guardian
Mastery Pack.
Yeah.
My wallet. I have to get a Plasmic Surge of each Marvel. Like I have to. So I get it.
I just realized this card list has 2 on the horizons. Is that just like
yeah? I saw that too. I thought that was interesting.
That's the case. But they did also in here is a new type of nimblism, new art nimblism that's also extended art. Yeah, really cool looking.
I actually love that they did that with nimblism.
Yeah,
I always thought it was interesting how nimblism art was, and I thought it was like a cool card because it is like a first card, like it came out in the first set. You could definitely tell it's like a very first set card with a very generic art, and it's just something that I'm sure the art's. I mean, it's iconic. The art is iconic, but it was always something I always wondered if they were gonna reprint with a new art to make it more like modernized feeling with Flesh and Blood. So I am really excited, and it's really cool to see that new nimblism.
I agree. It's sick to see that. It was a surprise to see that as well, which is awesome. And go ahead.
I was gonna say one of the coolest cards in this, but also the most disappointing card in the entire set, Rusty Harpoon.
It is cool.
I don't to explain it. There is no text box at all. Most cards, you'll have the text box on the bottom telling what it is. Well, Rusty Harpoon literally is nothing. It's a really bad card, but
but it's a cool looking bad card.
But it's so cool looking because there's no text box. The entire card is only the art. It is the border and the art of the card, which is super cool.
Super cool to look at. I like it.
I want it just to have the art card. It looks like just like an art card in Flesh and Blood border. It's really cool. Although I'll never use it, but it might be something in one of my bling binders. I put it. I'm like, look at this card. Look how cool it is.
It's reminiscent of alt art cards that people make, where it's like they won't have the text box on their alt art tokens, for example, like Frailty and Blood Rot tokens type thing. Like people will make full arts of those. It reminds me of that, but it's an official card that's just like that, and it's sick to see. Yeah, I agree that is one of the coolest looking cards. It's like that. I think even the Golden Harpoon, like the Marvel one from the treasure pack that we're gonna talk about in a second, that one's got text on it and it doesn't even look the same as this. There's just something unique about the way the Rusty Harpoon looks. That's really cool looking.
Is insanely unique, and it is I'm glad that they're doing a lot more of this extended art and shrinking the text because like I remember early on they like people were asking for it like crazy
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, the art's so beautiful, show us more of the art. And like it took them a while to do this, and it is so cool. And like I think the artist of Rusty Harpoon did a killer job. I'm just
Mhm.
sad that Rusty Harpoon even it should have just been like a 0 for 2 block 3. But
Maybe
maybe it's
we'll
like
see.
limited
We'll
balance
see.
stuff.
Yeah, it's probably
We'll
like a
see.
limited balance. I will say the one disappointing thing about these cards is if you look at the blue harpoons, that they could not make them extended art because of how much text is on them. So,
Yeah.
so they're just like what's the word for it? It's
Try ooh,
because
ooh.
it's like extended art, but the text box is like semi transparent.
I think that is what it is, transparent. I almost said
Yeah,
translucent.
but like I feel like it couldn't have been that hard to make a shorthand version of that. Like they made a keyword called "go fish," but then they could never actually reduce it to the keyword. So there's no reason for it to be a keyword unless like they're later on gonna like release some cards that say "go" like cards with "go fish" or something. That's the only thing I could think of is like if they reference it later. But right now, there's no reason for it to be a keyword because it doesn't shorten anything.
Yeah.
But
I also really want that Avast card.
Avashi's cool.
It's so cool. And I love all of the art for the like all of it is sick.
Mm.
I love it all, but there are certain cards I look at and I'm like, that one. Rusty Harpoon. I won't ever use it, but it will sit in my binder and look pretty. Avasti, which I'm gonna try Gravy Bones, and Avasti is really cool, and I like the card and I like the name, so
Yeah, yeah, I like the name too. But yeah, really cool gem pack. Excited for it. Excited to start cracking these open and open 0 cold foils, like I have been before. I was insanely
yeah.
unlucky with those gem packs.
I've opened one cold foil and it was the Charlisra.
Yeah, that's still a good one.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, but I want to open 3 boom grenades. My first 3 gem packs, just 3 boom grenades. Just get it over with.
If I open boom grenades, they are yours.
Hell yeah. But yeah, we have another pack, another new type of pack that is coming out with the High Seas set, which is the treasure pack. And we've all heard a lot about this already, but we've finally started seeing people cracking them and getting videos of people opening them. And a lot of it's from the distributors that got these packs early to open them and crack and have singles prepared for people. And we've already seen a handful of the unique cards or the lost treasures, I should say, been opened. So we've seen the library, one of the library. Is it only one library or 2 libraries?
I think there's 2 libraries.
So then one of the libraries has been opened now. It was by
Mm-hmm.
Min-Max Games. There was also a Kano, a Marvel Kano that was opened.
Oh, I didn't realize that was opened.
That was opened by, I think it was someone in France or something.
Oh, okay.
And then Hamal opened one of the Bravos. The Hammurabi TCG guy.
Oh, my Bravo!
I don't remember how many of them.
Anyways, but
yeah, but that one, at least one of those, if there was multiple, one of those got opened already. And then I want to say there was something else that was opened, but I'm blanking on it.
I'm surprised so many have been opened so early.
Also, I watched a video of someone opening like 20 gold treasure packs.
Oh yeah.
In a video, like they just literally had a High Seas box full of treasure packs, and they just crack open all of them in a row.
I think I saw the like thumbnail of that, but I didn't.
Yeah, I think it was posted in the Colorado Discord.
Oh, that makes sense.
But it's interesting. So I don't know where I sit with it in general. Like, obviously it's fun. They're fun to open, right? But I just know that if I ever open any, I'll just open one of the dud cards. And there's a lot of dud cards in those packs. I don't know if you've seen, but there's literal draft in that middle slot that you can open, which feels kind of bad to have in such a prestigious pack. Literally, like no deck is going to run that card. It is not a CC runnable card, and it's in there. There's a lot of them in there.
Yeah, I still think it's super cool because a lot of it is like it is just an extra pack. Like you're buying the box and you get an extra pack that has some cool stuff in it. I still think that's super cool personally, and I think it like feels a little weird because none of us, excuse me, like stores are opening them, but normal people aren't opening them yet. So you don't get the hype of like a person opening something big. Like you didn't see anyone in Colorado open anything big.
Sure.
And
But
so it's
I think that the biggest thing for me is that the cold foil EAs of legendaries are in there, right? And there's some of the marvels that are in there too. So like you're not gonna open any cold foil extended art legendaries in your regular packs. You can only open them in the treasure packs. And it's the same with the the Marvel Poly, and I think it's like the Marvel Golden Cog is in there too, and the Marvel Golden
the
Harpoon.
Marvel allies from the Armory deck. Are they in there, right?
I don't.
No, they're the expansion slot.
I think they're expansion slot. Yeah, I think like there are, which is interesting because there are Marvels in the set. It's just only the Gravy allies, as far as I understand, are in the main set. But yeah, it's really interesting. And then there's like some Marvel gems that are in the treasure packs. I think they're only in the treasure packs, and I think there's not very many of them, if I understand correctly. There's like only 100 each of the Marvel amulets.
Oh yeah.
So those are kind of crazy, but that's like, it's more that you can't open the cold foil legendaries in the regular packs, and so like if you just open a pack, like if you want to go to the store and just like open a pack of your armory, or you get prize packs of your armory, you can't open a lot of the big hits. Like the big hits are in the treasure pack and only the treasure pack.
I guess that's fair. I feel like the rates are still gonna be the same. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's just I get what you're saying now with like the prize packs. Like
I think
you're not
prize
gonna
packs
be
are
able
the
to
real
open
issue.
the EAs, but I'm wondering if like stores will do stuff because like, oh, we're doing a draft night, and then you open boxes and like the winner gets the gold foil.
Yeah,
or
it'll
like
be like winner raffle or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Which I think at that point it's mute in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't think it's a huge problem or anything, but it's interesting that they moved some of like the main set cards to this pack. I think what I would consider the main set cards.
Yeah. Again, like I think when we sit down and start opening it, it's either one, not gonna feel crazy different, and you just know where your like cool card's gonna pull out of, and then if you get anything extra in the box, it's super cool. Like you're like,
right,
oh, open up, get all my stuff out so I can make my deck. Okay, here's the pack. And like if you're opening all your stuff, like, oh, I got a Marvel ally on top of the gold pack, like pretty sick. But so it's like you don't. I'm sure it's for the most part going to be the same, if not still cooler. That's my take on it.
I bet.
But we're not.
I'm not like trying to like dog on or anything. I'm just saying like it's interesting that they're like moving that direction.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think again, this is very much a high seas thing. And it's kind of like with Misfail, where they hid the pack, and the secret was that there was a hidden pack in boxes, like, which was kind of cool. So it's like, I think it's cool that like box openings are flavorful to the set, where it's like, oh, you open this up, oh, Misfail has secret packs in it. You open it up, and wow, look at that. There's like an Enigma, and then it's like, oh, every single box of High Seas is treasure. Like, it is cool to do like that kind of flavorful stuff, and it like breaks the norm of like, oh, you get this exact thing.
Right. Yeah. No. It's a cool novelty. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's cool to see some of those things being cracked already.
I'm excited to see regular people open it. I'm so excited.
I'm excited to see all the videos of all the cool cards coming out, all the signed cards from James White being opened and whatnot. Kind of like how it was with the Altart Prisms and Chains in Dust Till Dawn.
And it feels like we're going to see them a lot sooner because so much of this set's going to be opened immediately. Like, it's not going to be like sitting and we're still waiting on some of those like Prisms and Chains. It's going to be like the boom, boom, boom. Like the first day, I'm sure we'll see 5. And then the next day, I'm sure we'll see another 5. And then like there might be one opened at Nationals in the draft. Like, you know, it's just going to be, they're going to be all over the place. And we're going to see like, I mean, there's still going to be people that don't show that they have it, but it's like you're going to definitely see, I'm sure, 50%, if not 75% of all of the cards in the first month.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, if there's something else about the treasure packs, then we could talk a little bit about the LL point system. I think that this has been a kind of an already talked about topic, so I don't want to take too much time on it. Um,
Right.
but I did have something that I thought was really interesting to talk about. So it has to do with actually Arsenal Pass. I was listening to their podcast, and there was some topics regarding the LL system that came up, some comments on it that were actually really opened my eyes on maybe some of the flaws with it, and
Mhm.
mostly it revolved around how as you know the LL point system has changed from instead of it being 1x points for all heroes at all times, now it is 0.5 times the amount of points for the first year of a hero's life, if you will, and then one time the regular normal multiplier during the 1 year to 2 year mark, and then beyond the 2 year mark, it is 1.5 times the number of points, right? And what's interesting about this is that it basically makes sure that new heroes are going to stay longer, right? They aren't going to LL as quickly as Aurora did. They also aren't going to LL as quickly as Starvo did. Um, and the older heroes that have been around for a long time are going to be a little bit more quickly pushed to the end, right? They're going to be more quickly pushed to LL. And uh, it's, it sounds very interesting at the start, and it makes a lot of sense, right? You know, you want the new heroes to stick around longer. You want the old heroes to have had their time in the sun to finally, rest, right, and make way for the new heroes to come out. Um, but some really interesting points were made regarding first the 0.5 multiplier on the new heroes, which is that it actually disincentivizes balanced heroes to come out because there's a bit of a crutch now for the devs to lean on, right? So, like for example, with this whole Aurora issue, it wasn't necessarily LSS's fault, right? There was a misprint on the card, but it still was allowed. It I guess what I'm trying to get at is if this 0.5 multiplier was in play, then there would be less of an urgency to stop the dominance of Aurora. There would be less of an urgency to fix it and release a ban, right? Because she's not going to LL anytime soon. There's not going to be any ruining of LSS's plans and products and stuff like that, right? And so there's a little bit of a less pressure on the devs to have these heroes be released in a balanced state and not have these types of mistakes. And so I thought that was a really good point that was made. And I wanted to reiterate that here. And
One thing on that
go ahead.
point is like we were going really quick, but that was actually something I was trying to talk about last week when we were like, oh, spitfiring.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I was talking about like Enigma because that was like my big thing and like new. So with the 0.5 multiplier, Enigma would still be at like 500 points right now. And she's a hero that just locks out any deck I like to play personally. Like she just says you can't play Guardian. You can't play, and New says you can't play Guardian in a lot of ways, in a lot of traditional ways too. And it is something where a lot of like what I've been waiting for is like, okay, well, I'll just wait for Enigma to leave because it is part of like it is a part of balancing in Flesh and Blood, like the LL system. But it's also something where it's like, okay, that's fine that this exists, but now it feels bad that like not only is this deck so bad for my hero, but it can be the best deck, and it can be hyper dominant. So it's not even like I'm playing gem roulette. It could be like I'm gonna play this hero a few times.
Right.
I cannot. There is no opportunity for me to play this, and I can't just sit back and wait for them to LL because they're not gonna LL this year. Like by the end of this year, they're gonna if they were hyper dominant like Aurora or Enigma, it's like well they have 500 points after a year.
Right.
So like, and my big thing was like, this can succeed if like a deck like Enigma or Aurora or anyone that has like anything over a 25% win percentage gets bans, and they have to be so much more aggressive with bans because it's like this is a situation where it's like if this stays out, like I can see a point where I would have been like Mistveil was really not like a good set for me. It was like so
Yeah.
I would have definitely taken a break after Mistveil was released if like okay, well, it's
It's gonna be a while before it's
Mistveil.
gone.
It's going to be a long time before I can actually play my deck. And it would have been something where I would have expected like the Miragai needs to go at that point, and like you would need Flicker Wish to go like immediately with Aurora. Although like again, I didn't personally have a problem, but like a lot of other people did. A lot of other people did. So imagine she's still at 500 and still has Flicker Wisp and still has this super dominant thing. A lot of people would have the problem I had with Enigma. It's like I can't play this aggro deck because Aurora exists. There's just no point, and I don't get to play the way I want to play.
Yeah.
Which
So yeah, and that's a big point of it, right? Is that like all the Mistfield Veil heroes would still be here, even though they've definitely fulfilled the requirement of being, a hero that Living Legends, right? Like they've been in the spotlight for well long enough to have had their place in the meta and have made their mark on the Flesh and Blood history. And they've done their time, they've done their time, and then now it was their time to go, right? They served their purpose. They were out, I think, for a reasonable amount of time, and I don't think they need to be out. I don't think they needed any kind of help in terms of staying, right?
funny little fact, I searched this up right before we did the podcast. Mistveil released almost exactly a year ago, May 31st, 2024.
Really?
And the reason I looked this up, the reason I looked this up because I wanted to see if New won Nationals, if I could play Guardian again. So I've never rooted for New more to win an event because I'm like, please, I just want New to win Nationals, like personally, so I can sit down, I can throw my 8 blues back in my deck, and I can do all that stuff. Because like again, I'm ready to play the deck I want to play and not feel like I just have an auto loss.
Yeah. Here, really quick, I gotta check on something real quick. Do you want to talk about the 1.5x in the meantime while I'm away?
Okay.
I'll be right back in just a minute.
Okay. With the 1.5x, with that little rant aside, the 1.5x is for any hero that is older than 2 years at this point. And the downside I've heard a lot of people talk about, like the upside is it helps filter out a lot of heroes faster, which is a huge benefit to balancing in the game, because we saw with CYB that the devs were already spending so much time just with CYB, and you have to still test a lot of heroes in each meta. They might not test Olympia, for example, but if you go into like a new meta, they've probably had to test every single new mech or every old mech with this new set that came out. Like, for example, Max probably still got tested with this like new set that came out. So I'm sure that like the idea behind this is that old heroes take so much of devs' time and development that this helps alleviate heroes when they become powerful to take up less of their time. But the big downside that a lot of people are having with this is that you've been here forever. Like, you've been a Betsy player, and you've been waiting 2 years for Betsy to be good. She's just been sitting back, doing nothing for forever. And then you finally get Betsy that's good, and then she LLs faster than any other hero's LL just because she's good and an old hero. And that's the other downside with that.
Yeah, that's exactly that. I've stepped in halfway through, but I can tell you're talking about exactly what I wanted to say. I think, and correct me or stop me if this is what you're talking about too, but let's say you have an older hero that's maybe like 700 points, right? Like, Kano's a terrible example, but it's just the one I'm thinking of right now. But imagine Kano wasn't actually that good. And he's, so Bravo is a good example. So imagine you have Bravo, who's I think like 650, 700 points, right?
Yeah, he's right around there.
And this Mastery Pack comes out, and he is actually pretty good now. Like, he's a top contender for a hero. Like, maybe he's not the best. He's not like, S tier hero, but he's like solid tier 1, tier 2. And he's out for another, we get a PQ season, and he's gone in 2 weeks because he wins a handful of PQs.
Yeah.
Like, how bad would that feel, right? Like, it doesn't feel good to me. Like, you get this new card for him, and he's finally feeling good, and you get him for like a couple weeks or something because he's like finally good. So I don't know. I think the 1.5x is like, as a balancing for the 0.5 is doing a lot of harm on the heroes that don't deserve it. Is my thought process there.
Yeah. Overall, like my opinion is if they're pretty aggressive on, like I say pretty aggressive, it's like go in and hit Enigma or hit Moragai and Enigma after like 3 months of her existing, and hitting Siren's Call and New after 3 months of existing, and like hitting some of those really powerful cards after they like a hero, like a new hero has had a lot of time to shine. I'm pretty neutral on this. Like I think it's fine, but I think an interesting point that I again heard on Arsenal Pass. I feel like we're just taking like, oh, listen to all these podcasts and we'll just make it our podcast. This is a Frankenstein cast. But anyways, like but it's like with what Arsenal Pass said, like at one point, like if they're making more of these like aggressive bans happening more often, making sure that these decks are not as powerful whenever something really goes over the step, do you need the 0.5 system? Do you need the 1.5 system? Because at that point, it's just going to be an average deck. And if you keep on top of it, even without this benefit of 0.5 or 1.5, a hero's going to last a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and that's exactly the point, is that it feels like it's more like a crutch for the devs than it is like an actual solution to any kind of problem, right? And I don't think it's the right direction to be going and the right solution to this Aurora problem. It seems like it's a knee-jerk reaction to the Aurora LL that is only a problem because of Aurora LLing and not necessarily because of new heroes LLing. But anyway, I just want to say that about it. I thought that was a really interesting topic that came up on their podcast that I wanted to discuss here as well.
Yeah. But again, I'm pretty neutral on it, and I imagine I personally think in a year's time there's going to be a lot of people presenting data of like this hero should be here, this hero should be here,
Yeah, we're getting a lot
this
of
hero
that.
would still be legal, this hero would be like this, and there's going to be a lot of like criticism towards this 0.5 system, and I have a feeling that this like just like everything in LL, like, and the LL system's always evolving, and it's fine that things like this get tested. That's why I'm pretty neutral and like fine with this kind of thing happening. But it's like I think it's something to like, hey, let's try this crutch, see how people like it, see how it works out. It's probably going to be fine. It's probably not going to actually be a huge deal, but it's going to be something that drives enough criticism that they're going to over time be like, okay, we learned this, we understand this, and with our new ban cycle, we don't think it's necessary. So I think in a year's time, mark it down, what set are we on? 3 sets from now, they're going to come back and be like, okay, we've learned our lesson, we understand, we have a better idea on how to do this, we're going to take this away. And they might introduce a new system, but I don't think this is a part of LOL.
We'll get into that in a second, because I think they mentioned something about potentially the LL system just goes away. Like it might just be something they don't continue on with, right? That was something that Dev Talk, that Aurora Dev Talk, if I remember correctly. And my question is rotation inevitable? Right? Is rotation just inevitable for any card game, but specifically Flesh and
like
Blood?
Thanos.
Yeah,
but
I am inevitable. I don't know, cause like my thought process here of is it inevitable or not. First of all, we have a ton of heroes that are still legal from Welcome to Wraith, right? In fact, every hero from Welcome to Wraith is still legal, right? So it's interesting. With this new point system, if any of them become viable, or if like with unbanning, it's like Katsu just got bonds unbanned, right? If now Katsu's gonna speed run LL, right? If he's good, this is assuming that he's like a top deck, and then he's gonna be gone. And then maybe they give Bravo something, he's going to be gone, and so on and so forth. And eventually, all the heroes will be LL'd. And we're going to have this old Welcome to Wraith set that the only cards that are realistically usable for CC play are the generics, right? You'll definitely have Guardian cards and stuff that like people will want, right? But like the money cards and like the expensive stuff will be these generics. And you want these new players to come in and need these generics from the very first set of the game, right? And some of them are reprinted, right? Like I think we have like Snatch reprints or something that have happened. But we don't have everything reprinted, right? Like we don't have E-Strikes reprinted. We don't have Heart of Findle reprinted. We don't have anything like that. And I think there's gonna be a point to where we have all these older sets that just have all the heroes LL'd, and it's just some Majestics and commons out of there that just happen to be good for new heroes. Every once in a while, they'll just like spike up from $1 each to like $20 each because a new hero uses them, and the devs are gonna have to work and develop around all these old cards of all the sets, and they've already given a reason for why they banned CYBs because they had to test all these decks with CYB in every one of them. So I think the natural next evolution is to start banning older sets or rotating out older sets to reduce the design constraints and to essentially allow for more design space in the game. And I think every card game just kind of goes through this cycle and eventually kind of realizes that rotation is inevitable, or else you get things like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon where you just power creep the ever living shit out of the game, and then the old cards aren't good because of that.
Pokemon's weird because they actually have a rotation system, but they purposely power creep to make every set stronger than the last, to make people buy more product. And then when their rotation ends, they reset down to a lower power level.
Huh.
That's so they do have a rotation system.
Interesting. Okay, but yeah, regardless, you either need a rotation system or you have to have power creep. And that's just like the inevitability of it. And that was my question to pose. Like, is it inevitable for Flesh and Blood? Maybe it's not. Maybe there is a solution that I'm missing. Maybe Flesh and Blood is going to find a way to circumnavigate that problem of, like, we have this 0 for 4 card that says on hit, draw a card. Like, is it okay if that card is just always in the game, right? And maybe they'll be fine. Maybe it'll work for a really long time, or maybe they'll decide that rotation just is the healthiest thing for the game.
I think it's interesting because they mentioned that, and I think every single person that plays Flesh and Blood reaction to them saying, "Oh, maybe LL's not the system," everyone was like, "Nope, you're wrong. LL's the system. Like, this is what makes Flesh and Blood Flesh and Blood."
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And it is very interesting. But like, one thing I was thinking when they said that is maybe like we have the classic constructed format. It stays kind of how it is and all that. But like, I'd be interested in like a few years' time if they introduce like kind of like Project Blue, but a new format that's a rotational format. So like,
it's like modern versus standard in Magic.
Exactly, like that kind of idea of like, okay, you have classic constructed, which is popular, but then like a living legend format. It's like, oh, you also have this format that's whatever they want to name it. That's just every 2-year block. This is that format, and it would, and like to a point that I have later, it would be a lot cheaper on players in a way. It'd be like,
depends on
in a way,
but yeah.
I think I'm hoping it's something that gets fixed, but
yeah,
in a way, it's going to be cheaper because for especially new players, I think that's the big thing. That format would be cheaper for new players because they only have to buy into the set that is released, and not all the way back to Welcome to Wraith and Enlightened Strikes and wait for a reprint on Codex for Codex to go down. And I want a Hunter's Clave, but they're $70. It's like, okay, well, there's this new set. I'll just open this new set, make a deck out of that, and it's fine. So it's like, I could see in the future that's kind of how it is. I feel like the Living Legend system is so beloved in the Flesh and Blood community, you can't get rid of it. I think you have to introduce a new competitive format. And if it's bad, you just kind of have to let it die, which at this point in time, it's not going to die. You can't say it's going to die, but it's going to be some, like, I could see in like 10 years from now, where it's like they have this cycle format that's been like 5 years old, and people are moving from CC to this cycle format because of all the things with CC, and it's seen as the vintage format where it's like, if you have all these old cards, you've been here from the start, you can play CC, classic constructed, but like most people are just jumping over to this format because it's cheaper, it's easier, it's cycling. Random hot take really late in the video, but like the podcast, but just something I was thinking about the other day.
I agree. It's interesting. I just wanted I thought it was an interesting topic. I don't think that it's necessarily like a good topic to have at this point in time. I just thought it was something interesting when it came to the changes in the Living Legend system, kind of like provoking this, like, is Living Legend system a permanent deal? They've already mentioned that it might be something that they look into in the future. I do like the Living Legend system for what it's worth, and I like it. I do like the system instead of rotation. I just wonder if
Mm,
the game, if it's just inevitable, right? If it's just unavoidable to have rotation in a game, or else you have massive power creep. Um,
yeah. One kind of like weird case because of the living legend system, and we talked a little bit about this before the podcast, but like I was talking about how decks are just slowly becoming more and more majestic, which people have talked about before. But we were talking earlier, like, oh yeah, like this majestic's $3, this majestic $6.
mm-hmm.
That adds up. Like that
A
adds up a
lot.
lot when your
Yeah.
entire deck's majestics. And it's one thing when you've been like us, we've been in the game since you've been in since like Uprising. I've been in since Monarch. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've been in the game for a long time and we had time to slowly collect majestics for especially archetypes we like. So spending an extra like $9 on some majestics later on in the set is fine. But going back is what's getting really expensive. And
Right.
that is like what I was trying to or like I was kind of mentioning at the like before we even started recording was like decks I think are also like yes, Flesh and Blood's expensive, but I think it's a side effect of the Living Legend system because decks are all majestics. And slowly, as decks are evolving, they're getting more expensive because you just, oh, there's a new majestic from this set. I'll throw it in. That's another like $10, $15. Oh, there's a majestic from this set. I'll throw it in. That's another, that one was a more expensive one. That's $30. And like, yeah, like I spent $45 over 2 sets, but it's been 15 sets. And that's like it's add up. Like there's thousands of dollars now, or like $1,000 for some decks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like challenging myself, and like what really helped me realize this was like I'm challenging myself with like a like kind of budget Bravo deck because I was like, okay, I want to build a budget Bravo deck, see how it feels. And I built this deck, and it looks very original to the Bravo decks I had back in Monarch. Like it has Arcane Skullcap, which was amazing in the Monarch meta. It
Mm-hmm.
has tectonic plating. It has crater fist. It has like the boots are different. It's the new boots from the last set.
Oh, Blade
But like
yeah.
not even that. It was like the
Oh.
Guardian boots that if you control Seismic Surge, prevent 2 arcane damage.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are only like $1. But like
Yeah.
but it's like I built this deck and like 95% of it is just my Bravo deck from Monarch.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's the thing.
it
Is like,
is
if you're already like in the game, it's not expensive to like keep a deck up to date most of the time. Most of the time. You just like added an expansion slot card here and there. But yeah, like you're saying, like the expansion slot cards that get added to some of these decks over time, it adds up. So like like Prism's gotten a lot of majestic slot cards. There's a lot of expansion slot cards, and so now the deck is like mostly majestics, right? There's or legend or fables. There's 2 fables in that deck, right?
it's crazy.
Like there's two fables in one deck, which is insane. And yeah, like you mentioned, the without any kind of rotation and with the class and talent pool kind of staying roughly the same as it is, like decks are just going to get more and more cards in that class, and the majestics are typically just the most powerful of them, and therefore will run more majestics and then be more expensive and more costly to build.
And one thing, like, kind of another like sidetrack to that little tangent there is like I think why like Project Blue feels so cool, unique, and refreshing is because it feels like old Flesh and Blood, where a lot of the decks were just rares and commons. And like, sure, you don't have the majestics, but a lot of the rares are a lot better than like some of the majestics back in the day. But it's like
Right.
it feels like original Flesh and Blood, where everything's slower, everything's a lot more grindier. You have like it feels a lot more inchy, which like in modern Flesh and Blood, you look at a lot of these majestics in like singularity or like in a singular like individual card, like oh this majestic's fine. Like the Guardian majestic that's coming out in this new set, it's fine, it's cool, like whatever. Like I love it personally, but like I think by itself it's a fine card.
Right.
But the thing is, you're combining it with all the other majestics, and you have so many extra synergies because so many other majestics from past sets, and that's where it's like the power level of Flesh and Blood has felt so much stronger, and it's felt like different than like And I think it's something that I've heard some like places or just like chatting around, or maybe some people like on Blue Sky, whatever, whatever. But it's like, oh, Flesh and Blood feels different than it did a while ago, and it's like I think it's because it is just such a high power level. Like every hand, like you ever like pull a hand, like or like just pull hands, and you're like, oh, there's 2 Majestics, there's 3 Majestics. Oh, that's a garbage hand. It's 4 rares. Oh, there's 3 Majestics. Oh, 1 Majestic, but is my most powerful. It's Codex of Frailty, so like whatever. Like it's it is interesting, and it's like that's why it's like Project Blue feels like really refreshing, and I could see in the future like a rotation system being like an additional format where it's like something where it's like it feels super refreshing because you don't have all these past Majestics clogging up all these spaces and making your deck feel so much so much more powerful.
Yeah, and I want as like my final point to that topic is like I feel like some of these later sets actually have been enabling that a little further, because these 3 new heroes, I guess Marlin less so, but Puffin and Gravy Bones are all like pretty much unique cards in their deck. They don't use a lot of the older cards, right? Like maybe equipment they use older cards for, but their deck is comprised of mostly cards from High Seas. And so these new heroes seem to be a little bit more locked into their, not locked necessarily into their archetype, but they use a lot more cards from their archetype, and then therefore they can survive with just their set if they needed to in that kind of format. Whereas I think sometimes in the past, some of these heroes have been released with the expectation of them using cards from the previous sets.
Mm-hmm. It is just like an interesting topic that when I saw you like writing down is rotation inevitable. Like a lot of like minor thoughts I've had floating in my head, like all the dots started connecting. I'm like, huh, this is weird. So I think it's like an interesting topic, but it's something that I don't think we're gonna see the ramifications for in.
Yeah, we have at least another year. I think at least another few years before the topic really even starts becoming like a real one. But yeah, I just thought it was something interesting to talk about. Why not? We're here for fun.
Yeah. It's something, hey, when it happens, when it becomes a real topic, we're the first. We started it. Yeah.
I highly doubt that, but we're going to claim it, we're going to say it, and therefore it's true because we're podcasters and what we say is true, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So episode 17, mark that down in all of your calendars. Whenever someone mentions it like 2 years in the future, 3 years in the future, so we could spam in the comments, all of us. We were the first.
Are we gonna be like The Simpsons, where like someone just points out like The Simpsons did it at all times? It's like Breaking the Chain did it. Like they talked about this.
Oh yeah.
Are we gonna get that status?
Yeah, we're actually from the future.
Yeah.
So
we're time travelers.
Yeah, exactly. We're just informing you how like everything's gonna happen. There's a rotation in 5 years, then 2-3 years. The conversation about Majestics comes up. Project Blue gets super popular because it feels good, all that kind of fun.
Yeah. We're just prophets. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But all right, I think it's coming to a close. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we tie it up?
No, I think I've rambled on too much. I have lack of sleep and all the extra stuff. I've had too much talking time.
So I guess we'll leave off our audience with a question. What are you most excited for when it comes to Nats? And actually, I'm going to add a follow-up question to that. Who do you think is going to win Nats? I think that's a maybe even more fun question to ask.
I see.
Leave your comment below on YouTube, or I think Spotify allows you to have comments as well. And feel free to like and subscribe to this video. It really helps us out a ton and shows us support and keeps us going because we only run on your support and not of our own volition. That is a lie, by the way. But yeah, with that, I'm Cody.
I'm Jacob.
And thank you for watching and listening and everything.